I'm Stephanie, 34, and I still can't believe what happened last Christmas. One moment, I was sitting at the family dinner table, fork halfway to my mouth. The next, I was being volunteered to babysit my sister, Amber's 3 kids, for 2 weeks, while she and her husband jetted off on a surprise $10,000 Caribbean cruise. "It's already booked and non-refundable," she announced to everyone. The worst part wasn't even being manipulated. It was discovering 3 days later that she'd left her youngest's life-threatening peanut allergy medication at home. Deliberately. Before I share what happened next, let me know where you're watching from in the comments. If my family drama resonates with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about the unexpected ways family loyalty gets tested. Trust me, what happened after I discovered my sister's dangerous mistake changed our family forever. To understand why I didn't immediately tell my sister Amber to find someone else to watch her kids, you need to understand our relationship. Growing up, Amber was always the golden child. 3 years older than me at 37, she mastered the art of getting her way since we were children. Our parents, Margaret and Richard, 68 and 70 now, enabled her at every turn. "Amber is just more sensitive," Mom would say whenever I pointed out the unfairness. "You're stronger, Stephanie. You can handle disappointment better." And I did handle it for decades. I built a successful career as a marketing director at a tech company, worked hard, bought my own apartment, and created a life I was proud of. Meanwhile, Amber married Brandon right out of college at 22, had 3 kids in quick succession, and established herself as the matriarch in training of our family. Her children are Taylor, a 13-year-old who's permanently glued to her phone; Mason, an energetic 8-year-old with behavioral issues that Amber and Brandon refuse to address; and Lily, a sweet 4-year-old diagnosed with severe peanut allergies at age 2. Despite my complicated relationship with their mother, I genuinely love my nieces and nephew. The thing about Amber is that she doesn't just ask for favors, she expects them, then fails to show gratitude. 3 years ago, she borrowed $5,000 for a down payment on a new SUV, promising to repay me in 6 months. I'm still waiting. Last summer, she showed up uninvited to my birthday dinner with all 3 kids because Brandon needed alone time, effectively turning my intimate celebration into a chaotic family affair. On the surface, Amber and Brandon's marriage looks perfect. They live in a beautiful 4-bedroom house in the suburbs, take impressive vacations, and post perfectly curated family photos on social media. But there have been hints of trouble-hushed arguments at family gatherings, Brandon's increasingly distant demeanor, Amber's passive-aggressive comments about husbands who work too much. Our family holiday traditions had always been predictable. Christmas Eve at our parents' home, Christmas morning at our respective houses, Christmas dinner back at Mom and Dad's with extended family. This particular Christmas, I had just finished a major project at work that had earned me a promotion, but it came with new responsibilities. I needed to prepare a critical presentation scheduled for January 15th, right after the holidays. My boyfriend Ryan and I had been dating for almost 2 years. At 36, he was kind, stable, and actually understood my complicated family dynamics without judgment. We had planned a quiet holiday together, alternating between family obligations and peaceful evenings at my place. I'd even bought special matching pajamas for us to wear on Christmas morning. I had canceled a trip to Hawaii with friends to accommodate work and family holiday commitments. My 1-bedroom apartment was in the middle of minor renovations. The guest room, divided by office, was half painted with furniture, pushed to the center and covered in plastic. Not exactly kid-friendly. All these details matter because they illustrate how meticulously Amber's plan was designed to leave me with no escape route. Christmas at my parents' suburban home always looked like a Hallmark movie set. Mom's obsession with decorations meant every surface sparkled with tinsel, figurines, or candles. The 12-foot tree in the corner of the living room was laden with ornaments collected over decades, and the air smelled like cinnamon and pine. That year, about 20 family members gathered for dinner. Aunt Patricia and Uncle Stephen came with their adult children and spouses. Grandma Edith, at 92, held court in Dad's recliner. Cousin Jessica brought her new boyfriend, nervously introducing him to everyone. The usual controlled chaos of a family holiday. Gift exchange happened before dinner, a tradition started years ago to keep the kids from fidgeting through the meal in anticipation. Taylor received the expensive headphones she'd been hinting about for months. Mason got a new tablet that seemed excessive for an 8-year-old. Lily clutched a plush unicorn nearly as big as herself. My parents had given me a nice but impersonal cashmere sweater, while Amber received a weekend spa package. The inequity was so familiar I barely noticed anymore. Dinner started normally. The dining room table, extended with all its leaves, barely fit in the room. Mom's china glistened under the chandelier light. Dad carved the turkey with his annual commentary about finding the perfect bird. Conversation flowed easily, work updates, local gossip, mild political disagreements, quickly redirected by Mom's practiced interventions. I was just taking a bite of mashed potatoes when Amber clinked her glass with her fork. The table gradually quieted. "Brandon and I have an announcement," she said, her voice pitched to sound simultaneously excited and casual. "We've been given an amazing opportunity." Brandon smiled tightly beside her. Looking back, I should have noticed his discomfort. Brandon's company awarded him an exclusive Caribbean cruise for his sales performance, Amber continued. 2 weeks, all-inclusive, 5 islands. It's worth over $10,000. "Congratulations," erupted around the table. Dad beamed proudly at his son-in-law while Mom clasped her hands in delight. "That's wonderful," I said sincerely. "When are you going?" Amber's smile widened. "That's the surprise. We're leaving in 3 days. The day after Christmas." More exclamations followed, but I noticed something odd. No one seemed particularly surprised except me. Mom and Dad exchanged a quick glance. "What about the kids?" I asked, already feeling a knot forming in my stomach. Amber turned to me, her expression a perfect blend of hope and apology that I now know was entirely rehearsed. "Well, Stephanie, that's actually why I'm announcing this at dinner. We need someone to watch the kids. And you're the only one we trust completely." The table fell silent. All eyes turned to me. I can't," I stammered. "I have that big presentation to prepare for, and my apartment is being renovated." "It's already booked and non-refundable," Amber interrupted. "Over $10,000 would just disappear." "But family helps family," Mom interjected firmly. "Stephanie, you know how hard Amber and Brandon work. They deserve this break." "You don't even have kids to worry about," Amber added. "It's just 2 weeks. What's the big deal?" I looked around the table for support, but found none. Uncle Stephen suddenly became very interested in his green beans. Aunt Patricia whispered something to Grandma Edith. My cousins avoided eye contact. "Couldn't they stay with you and Dad?" I asked desperately. "Your father's back couldn't handle it," Mom replied immediately. "And you know I'm having that minor procedure right after Christmas." The minor procedure was a routine dental cleaning, but no one challenged her. The pressure mounted as Amber detailed how easy it would be. The kids were on school break. They had tablets to keep them entertained. Brandon's mother had offered to take them for 1 weekend to give me a break. "Please, Steph," Amber said, using my childhood nickname for the first time in years. "We've never had a real vacation without the kids." I felt the weight of everyone's expectations. The unspoken family rule, Amber asks, Stephanie delivers. Saying no would make me the villain who ruined Christmas and deprived my hard-working sister of a well-deserved break. "Fine," I finally said, the word feeling like surrender. The table erupted in approval. Dad raised his glass in a toast to family taking care of family. Mom beamed at me with that particular smile that said, "That's my good girl." After dinner, Amber cornered me in the kitchen as I helped Mom with dishes. "There are a few more details," she said quietly. "The kids need to stay at your place. Our house is being fumigated." "What? You never mentioned?" "It was a last-minute thing. Black mold in the basement. Very dangerous." Later, I discovered this was the first of many lies. For the remainder of the evening, family members strategically avoided being alone with me. When I tried to discuss logistics with Amber, she was suddenly busy helping Grandma Edith to the bathroom or refilling wine glasses. Brandon looked increasingly uncomfortable but remained silent. By the time Ryan picked me up, I was seething with resentment and anxiety. Something felt wrong about the whole situation, but I couldn't quite piece it together yet. They ambushed you, Ryan said plainly as we drove home. You know that, right? I did know. I just didn't realize how calculated it truly was. 3 days after Christmas, Amber's minivan pulled up outside my apartment building. From my window, I watched her and Brandon unloading suitcases, their luggage, not the kids. Ryan stood beside me, having agreed to help for the first day before heading back to his place. Remember, we're doing this for the kids, not for Amber, he reminded me gently. The handoff was chaotic by design. Amber swept into my apartment like a hurricane, talking rapidly about schedules and preferences while depositing bags of mismatched children's clothes. Taylor can manage her own routine. Mason needs reminding about teeth brushing. Lily naps around 1, but sometimes she fights it. They all have their tablets. School's out, so don't worry about homework. Brandon hung back, helping the children settle in while avoiding eye contact with me. He seemed to be checking and rechecking his pocket nervously. What about activities? Food preferences? Emergency contacts? I asked, trying to slow Amber down. It's all in my text. I sent you a message with everything, she replied dismissively. I'd received no such text. Lily clutched her unicorn, looking apprehensive. Mommy, where's Bunny? She asked quietly. Oh, shoot, Amber said without concern. Must have forgotten it. She'll be fine without it for 2 weeks. Bunny, I later learned, was Lily's comfort item since infancy. Forgetting it seemed impossibly neglectful. Brandon approached Amber, speaking in a low voice. Did you pack Lily's? Yes, everything's packed, Amber cut him off sharply. We need to go or we'll miss our flight. The goodbye was brief. Amber kissed each child perfunctorily. Brandon hugged them longer, whispering something to Taylor that made the teenager nod solemnly. As they headed for the door, I called after them. Wait, what about Lily's allergy medication? In her bag, Amber called back without turning around. All labeled. And then they were gone, leaving me with 3 children staring at me with varying degrees of uncertainty. The first few hours were overwhelming. Mason immediately began exploring every corner of my apartment, touching everything despite my requests to be careful. Taylor retreated to the couch, headphones on, thumbs flying across her phone screen. Lily stood in the middle of the living room, clutching her unicorn and looking lost. My apartment, already cramped due to the renovation, felt impossibly small with 3 additional people in it. The half-painted guest room had to be hastily converted into a bedroom for the kids, with air mattresses Ryan helped me inflate. By evening, I discovered several concerning things. None of the children had enough clothes for 2 weeks. Lily had no pajamas at all. Mason had behavioral issues that went well beyond normal 8-year-old energy. And most worryingly, Lily's allergy medication was nowhere to be found. I called Amber. Straight to voicemail. I texted. No response. I called Brandon. Same result. Maybe they're on the plane, Ryan suggested, helping me make up the air mattresses with fresh sheets. That night, bedtime was a struggle. Taylor refused to sleep on an air mattress and demanded my bedroom. Mason couldn't settle down, running between rooms until nearly midnight. Lily cried softly for her bunny until she finally fell asleep from exhaustion. Ryan looked at me with concern before leaving. Are you sure you'll be okay? I can stay. I'll manage, I told him, though I wasn't convinced. They're just kids. How hard can it be? The answer came the next day when I prepared dinner. I'd ordered groceries delivered, careful to avoid anything with peanuts. As I served pasta with marinara sauce, Mason complained loudly. Aunt Steph, can I have cookies? Mom always lets us have cookies before dinner. After dinner, I replied firmly. While I was helping Lily with her food, Mason disappeared into the kitchen. Minutes later, he returned munching on something. What are you eating? I asked. He held up a half-eaten peanut butter cookie from a package I didn't recognize. Found these in my backpack. Mom packed snacks. I froze, looking at Lily, who sat less than 2 feet away from her brother. Mason, those have peanuts. Lily is allergic. It's okay, Taylor interjected, not looking up from her phone. Lily's not touching them. But as I watched, Lily's face began to change. Red blotches appeared on her cheeks. She started scratching her arms. Lily, did you touch the cookies? I asked, panic rising. She shook her head, but I could see her breathing changing. Even without direct contact, the airborne particles were affecting her. Where's her EpiPen? I demanded, looking at Taylor. The teenager finally looked up, her expression shifting from annoyed to concerned. In her medical bag? Mom always keeps it in the purple bag. I rushed to the kids' belongings, tearing through bags, finding no purple bag, no medication of any kind. Lily's breathing was becoming labored, her face increasingly swollen. Call 911, I told Taylor, thrusting my phone at her. To Mason, throw those cookies away and wash your hands. Now. I carried Lily to the bathroom, helping her rinse her face and trying to keep her calm while my own heart pounded. Taylor followed, relaying information to the 911 operator. The ambulance arrived in 7 minutes that felt like hours. The EMTs immediately assessed Lily, administering epinephrine and preparing to transport her. Are you her mother? One asked. Aunt. Her parents are unreachable. Does she have a history of reactions? Where's her prescribed medication? I had no answers. As they loaded Lily into the ambulance, I sent Ryan a desperate message to come watch the other kids, then climbed in beside my niece, holding her small hand while she gasped for breath through an oxygen mask. At the hospital, the emergency room doctor asked more questions I couldn't answer. Had she had reactions before? What was her normal dosage? When was her last allergy assessment? Her mother said the medication was packed, I explained helplessly. I can't reach them. The doctor's expression was carefully neutral, but his words weren't. This isn't the first time she's come in without her prescribed medication. We have her records. There's a pattern here. As Lily received treatment, a nurse approached me privately. Are you aware there's a note in her file about previous concerns? The last ER doctor noted possible medical neglect. I wasn't aware. But I was beginning to understand what Brandon had been trying to tell Amber before they left. While Lily recovered in the hospital overnight for observation, Ryan stayed with Taylor and Mason at my apartment. I spent the night in an uncomfortable chair beside Lily's bed, my phone in hand, calling Amber and Brandon repeatedly. Every call went straight to voicemail. By morning, Lily was stable and improving, but I was fuming with rage and concern. The hospital social worker came by to ask questions about the family situation. I explained as honestly as I could, still giving Amber the benefit of the doubt about forgetting the medication. When we returned to my apartment that afternoon, Taylor was unusually subdued. Is Lily okay? She asked, genuine concern breaking through her teenage facade. She will be, I assured her. The hospital prescribed new medication. Taylor, has this happened before? Lily needing emergency care for her allergy? The teenager hesitated, glancing at her younger siblings before answering. 3 times. Mom always says she's being extra careful, but then it happens again. And the medication? Does your mom usually forget it? Taylor's expression hardened. Mom doesn't forget things. She decides what matters and what doesn't. That evening, after the kids were asleep, I sat with my laptop and began investigating. First, I tried reaching Amber and Brandon through every possible channel: email, social media, Brandon's work contact. Nothing. Then I checked Amber's social media. Her Instagram was already filled with cruise photos, luxurious cabin views, tropical drinks, poolside selfies. In one caption she wrote, "First kid, free vacation in 13 years. Sometimes you need to put yourself first. Number self-care. Number deserved." The timestamp showed she'd posted it mere hours after dropping off the kids before they'd even set sail. I scrolled back through her timeline and found something strange. 6 weeks ago, she'd posted a cryptic message. Got some amazing news today? Can't share yet. But 2024 is going to start with the trip of a lifetime number. Blessed number secret plans. This contradicted her Christmas dinner claim that the cruise was a surprise last-minute award from Brandon's company. She'd known for at least 6 weeks. Further back, I found shopping posts, new swimsuits, resort wear, sunglasses, all purchased weeks before Christmas with captions like secret shopping spree for a special occasion coming up. I texted a mutual friend, Lisa, who was close with Amber. Hey, did Amber mention winning a cruise from Brandon's work? Lisa's response was immediate. No, she entered some contest through that mommy blog she follows. Won the cruise but had to pay airfare and excursions. Why? So it wasn't a $10,000 luxury prize either. A quick search of similar cruise packages showed base prices around $3,000 for 2 people. While I was processing this, Mason wandered out of the bedroom, looking groggy. Can't sleep, he mumbled. Forgot my special pillow. I sat him beside me on the couch, offering him some water. Mason, did Mom talk to you about staying with me before Christmas? He nodded. A long time ago, she said we'd stay with you while they went on a boat. She said not to bother you too much because you're not used to kids. A long time ago? Like when? Before Thanksgiving, he said casually. She made us practice sleeping on the floor because she said your apartment is small. The next morning, Ryan came by early. I showed him everything I'd discovered. She planned this for months, I told him. She lied about how she got the cruise, how much it cost, when she found out about it. She manipulated everyone at Christmas dinner. They all knew, Ryan. My parents knew. What about Lily's medication? He asked, the more serious concern. I'm still trying to figure that out. I called my parents, but they're defending Amber. Mom said Amber deserves a break and I'm overreacting about the medication. She suggested Amber probably just forgot in the excitement. Ryan helped me document everything, the social media posts, text messages, timestamps. We took photos of the kids' insufficient packed clothing, the lack of necessary supplies. While organizing the children's belongings, I found a folder in Taylor's backpack. Inside were Lily's medical records, probably packed for me as a reference, but forgotten in the chaos. Reading through them sent chills down my spine. In the past year alone, Lily had been to the ER for allergic reactions 4 times, not 3, as Taylor had said. Notes from her allergist expressed concern about inconsistent medication management and parental non-compliance with safety protocols. When Taylor woke up, I asked her more questions. Reluctantly, she began sharing more. Mom says Lily's allergy isn't as serious as the doctors make it out to be. She says they exaggerate to avoid lawsuits. Has your mom ever forgotten Lily's EpiPen before when you've gone places? Taylor looked down. She says it's expensive to keep replacing them when they expire, and Lily rarely needs it anyway. Each revelation was worse than the last. I contacted Brandon's mother, ostensibly to confirm the weekend she'd be taking the kids. Oh, she sounded surprised. Amber told me you wanted to keep them the whole time. Brandon seemed worried about the arrangement, but Amber insisted you were eager to have them. More lies. I was beginning to see a pattern of deliberate decisions, not forgetfulness. That evening, I found an old journal of Amber's while looking through a box of family photos my mother had asked me to store months ago. A diary entry from when I got my promotion last year read, Stephanie's always been the successful one with her fancy job and freedom. She has no idea what real responsibility is like. Someday she'll understand what I sacrifice every day. The more I uncovered, the more concerned I became for my nieces and nephew. This wasn't just about Amber taking advantage of me anymore. It was about 3 children potentially at risk. If you're as shocked as I was discovering the truth behind my sister's perfect mom facade, make sure you're subscribed to catch the next part of this story. The evidence I was gathering was just the beginning of what would become a family-changing confrontation. Let me know in the comments if you've ever discovered something about a family member that made you question everything you thought you knew about them. The next 12 days were a crash course in parenthood. I juggled my work preparation with childcare, trying to maintain some semblance of routine for 3 kids whose lives had been disrupted. My presentation was scheduled for January 15th, just days after Amber and Brandon were due to return. I'd planned to spend the holiday break fine-tuning it, but instead found myself working in short bursts during Lily's naps or late at night after all 3 kids were finally asleep. Ryan, despite having no obligation to help, became my lifeline. He came by every evening after work, sometimes bringing dinner, always bringing patience and support. "I could stay over," he offered on the 4th night. "Sleep on the couch. It might be easier with 2 adults." "Are you sure? This isn't what you signed up for." "Neither did you," he pointed out. "But here we are." With Ryan's help, we established a workable routine. He was surprisingly good with Mason, channeling the boy's energy into constructive activities instead of the destructive behaviors I'd been struggling to manage. They built elaborate Lego structures together and went to the park to run off excess energy. Taylor initially maintained her distance, but gradually began to open up. One evening, while Ryan supervised Mason and Lily's bath time, she sat beside me at the kitchen table. "Aunt Steph, can I tell you something?" "Of course," I said, setting aside my laptop. "Mom and Dad fight all the time. Like, really bad fights. Dad wanted to take just Mom on the cruise, but she said they couldn't find anyone to watch us. But that's not true. Dad's mom offered months ago." This confirmed what I already suspected. Amber had engineered the whole situation. "Why do you think she wanted to leave you with me specifically?" I asked gently. Taylor shrugged. "Mom always gets weird about you. Says you think you're better than her because you have a career instead of kids. Sometimes after we visit you, she cries and says no one appreciates how hard her life is." The revelation was both surprising and sadly predictable. Amber's resentment had apparently grown far deeper than I realized. As days passed, I noticed positive changes in the children. Mason's outbursts decreased with consistent boundaries and one-on-one attention. Lily became more confident and verbal. Even Taylor put down her phone occasionally to join family activities. Ryan and I took them ice skating, to the children's museum, and to a movie. We cooked meals together instead of ordering takeout. We established bedtime routines that actually worked. In short, we created stability, something I began to suspect was lacking in their normal home life. My colleagues proved unexpectedly supportive. When I explained the situation during a video call, my boss arranged for me to present remotely if necessary and redistributed some of my workload. Coworkers sent activity suggestions and encouragement. I contacted a family lawyer friend for advice, not yet sure what I planned to do with the information I was gathering, but knowing I needed to understand my options. She advised me to maintain detailed records of everything: the missing medication, the children's comments about home life, all communication attempts with Amber and Brandon. "Document everything," she emphasized. "Dates, times, exact quotes. Take photos if appropriate. If nothing else, you'll have evidence to confront them with. If it's more serious, you'll be prepared." The financial strain was significant. 3 growing children eat astonishing amounts of food. Lily needed new clothes, since Amber had packed so few. Mason broke a lamp, and Taylor needed specific hair products she claimed were essential. The emergency room visit, even with insurance, left me with a substantial copay. I kept receipts for everything, though I had little hope of reimbursement given Amber's history with money. Despite daily attempts, I couldn't reach Amber or Brandon. Their social media continued to show a glorious, carefree vacation, parasailing adventures, snorkeling excursions, romantic dinners. No acknowledgement of their children or concern about Lily's emergency. My parents maintained their defense of Amber, though their position weakened slightly after I told them about Lily's hospitalization. "You know how scattered Amber gets when she's excited," Mom said, her voice less certain than before. "I'm sure she didn't intentionally forget something so important." "Mom, the hospital has records of multiple incidents. This isn't scatterbrained, it's dangerous negligence." "Don't use that word," she snapped. "Your sister loves her children." Loving them and properly caring for them are different things. The conversation ended in stalemate. By the beginning of the second week, something unexpected happened. The children stopped asking when their parents would return. Instead, Taylor asked if we could make tacos for dinner again. Mason wondered if Uncle Ryan, a title Ryan accepted with visible emotion, would help him build another Lego creation. Lily asked if she could call me Auntie Steffi instead of Aunt Stephanie. Small changes that broke my heart a little. One night, after the children were asleep, Ryan and I sat on my small balcony with glasses of wine. "I've been thinking," he said carefully. "My lease is up in March. Your place is too small for all of us, but what if we looked for something bigger? Together." "All of us?" I repeated, surprised. "I'm not saying we should take the kids permanently," he clarified, "but they need responsible adults in their lives, and it's becoming clear that might not be their parents. At minimum, they need a safe place to land sometimes, and I've realized I want to build a life with you, Stephanie. Whatever that looks like." It was a serious conversation prompted by extraordinary circumstances, but it felt right. That night, I allowed myself to imagine a different future than I'd planned, one that might include not just Ryan, but a more significant role in my nieces' and nephews' lives. The next day, Taylor approached me while I was preparing lunch. "If Mom and Dad got divorced," she asked tentatively, "do you think we'd have to choose who to live with?" "Why do you ask that?" "Dad told me once that if anything happened, I should take care of Mason and Lily. He made me promise." "Why would he say that if he didn't think something might happen?" I had no good answer, but her question confirmed my growing suspicions about the state of Amber and Brandon's marriage. As the scheduled end of their cruise approached, I prepared for their return and the inevitable confrontation. Ryan and I discussed strategies. We agreed that accusation and anger, while justified, wouldn't help the children. We needed evidence and calm rationality. I continued trying to reach them to coordinate their return. Still, nothing. According to their itinerary, they would be back on January 10th, giving me less than a week to finalize my work presentation while managing the transition. But on January 6th, 4 days before their scheduled return, everything changed. At 9:37 p.m. on January 6th, an unexpected knock at my door startled all of us. Ryan was reading a bedtime story to Mason and Lily, while Taylor and I were painting our nails at the kitchen table, a bonding activity she had shyly requested. Through the peephole, I saw Amber and Brandon standing in the hallway, their expressions tense. Amber looked sunburned and irritable. Brandon appeared exhausted. "It's your parents," I told Taylor, whose face immediately closed off, the openness of moments before vanishing. I opened the door, bracing myself. "You're back early." "Obviously," Amber replied, pushing past me into the apartment. "Where are the kids? Why aren't they in bed? It's a school night." "School doesn't restart until next week," I reminded her, "and we were just getting ready for bed." Brandon entered more hesitantly, nodding a silent greeting to me. Up close, I could see the strain on his face more clearly. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. Hearing voices, Ryan emerged from the bedroom with Mason and Lily. Mason immediately ran to Brandon, wrapping his arms around his father's waist. Lily hung back, clinging to Ryan's leg. "Lilypad, come give Mommy a hug," Amber said, her voice suddenly sweet. Lily didn't move. Amber's expression hardened slightly. "Lily, come here now." "Lily had to go to the emergency room while you were gone," I said quietly. "She had an allergic reaction because her EpiPen wasn't packed." "Accidents happen," Amber dismissed, reaching for her daughter, who reluctantly allowed herself to be embraced. "Kids are resilient." "It wasn't an accident," I said firmly. "Her medication wasn't packed at all. The hospital has records of multiple similar incidents." Brandon's head snapped up. "What? Amber, you told me you packed it. You promised after last time." "Not now, Brandon," Amber hissed. "The kids don't need to hear this." "The kids lived it," I countered. "Taylor, can you take Mason and Lily to the bedroom for a few minutes? Ryan will go with you." Ryan gently ushered the children toward the bedroom, Taylor already understanding what was happening. As they left, I heard Mason ask, Are Mom and Dad fighting again? Once the bedroom door closed, I turned to Amber and Brandon. Why are you back 4 days early? Change of plans, Amber said vaguely. The truth, Brandon interjected, his voice tired but firm. Tell her the truth, Amber. I'm done covering for you. Amber shot him a venomous look but said nothing. Brandon sighed heavily. We got kicked off the cruise. Amber got into a huge fight with another passenger, then with me when I wouldn't take her side. The ship's security got involved. They gave us the option to disembark at the next port or be confined to our cabin for the remainder of the cruise. He's exaggerating, Amber snapped. That woman was deliberately provoking me. She accidentally bumped into you at the buffet, Brandon said flatly. You threw a drink in her face. I took a deep breath. While you two were having your luxury vacation drama, your daughter could have died. Do you understand that? The hospital social worker noted concerns about medical neglect in Lily's file. How dare you, Amber gasped. I am an excellent mother. An excellent mother doesn't forget life-saving medication. An excellent mother doesn't leave her children with insufficient clothing for a 2-week stay. An excellent mother answers her phone when the person watching her children calls about an emergency. My phone was on international mode, she defended weakly. I've seen your Instagram posts, Amber. You had plenty of internet access for those. Brandon looked at his wife with growing horror. You were posting on social media? When I tried to call home to check on the kids, you said there was no signal. The conversation rapidly deteriorated from there. As I presented evidence of Amber's deceptions, the contest she'd actually won months ago, not a last-minute work award. The insufficient packing, the documented pattern of forgetting Lily's medication, Amber's denials grew more frantic and less coherent. You've always been jealous of me, she eventually shouted, abandoning her defenses entirely. You've always wanted what I have. What exactly do I want, Amber? Your financial problems? Your crumbling marriage? Your dangerous negligence toward your children? Brandon, who had been increasingly quiet, finally spoke up. The medication thing wasn't an accident, was it? You've been minimizing Lily's allergy from the beginning, against doctors' advice. Amber's face contorted with anger. They're all overreacting. My friend Janet's son has allergies, and she never obsesses about it like this. All these doctors care about is covering their liability and prescribing expensive medications. She could have died, Brandon and I shouted simultaneously. The bedroom door opened, and Taylor emerged, her face pale. Mom, you promised after the last time. You promised you'd always bring the EpiPen. Amber's expression shifted instantly to maternal concern. Taylor, sweetie, go back to the bedroom. This is grown-up talk. I heard everything, Taylor said, her voice shaking. I always hear everything. The fighting, the lies, everything. At that moment, Mason and Lily appeared behind their sister, with Ryan unsuccessfully trying to keep them in the bedroom. The sight of all 3 children witnessing this confrontation temporarily silenced everyone. I'm calling my parents, Amber finally said, reaching for her phone. Go ahead, I replied. I've already talked to them about Lily's hospitalization. They might still make excuses for you, but even they were concerned. Brandon put a hand on Amber's arm. No more, Amber. I can't do this anymore. I won't put the kids at risk because you refuse to take Lily's condition seriously. I won't keep pretending everything is fine when it's been broken for years. What are you saying? Amber demanded. I'm taking the kids to my mother's tonight. Tomorrow, I'm calling a lawyer. Amber's face went white. You can't take my children. Watch me, Brandon said with quiet determination. Stephanie has documented everything. The hospital has records. This isn't the first time you've endangered them, but it will be the last. Amber turned to me, her expression a mixture of fury and betrayal. You did this. You turned my husband and children against me. No, Amber, you did this yourself. As if on cue, my phone rang. It was my parents, likely called by Amber before we arrived. I put it on speaker. Stephanie? My mother's voice filled the room. Amber just texted saying, You're trying to steal her children. What's going on? Mom, I'm with Amber and Brandon now. The kids are here too. Amber and Brandon returned early from their cruise because Amber was kicked off for fighting with another passenger. That's not Mom began, but I continued. Lily was hospitalized while they were gone because Amber deliberately didn't pack her life-saving allergy medication. The hospital has documented multiple similar incidents. Brandon is taking the kids to his mother's for their safety. Now wait just a minute, Dad's voice joined in. There must be some misunderstanding. No misunderstanding, Brandon said loudly enough for them to hear. I've been making excuses for Amber for years, just like all of you. I'm done. My children's safety comes first. Amber, Mom said hesitantly, is this true about Lily's medication? In that moment, something in Amber seemed to break. You have no idea what it's like, she sobbed. 3 kids constantly needing things. A special needs child who can't eat normal food. A husband who works all the time. A perfect sister with her perfect career and perfect boyfriend who never has to sacrifice anything. So you risked your daughter's life to prove a point? I asked, genuinely bewildered. I didn't think she'd actually have a reaction, Amber shouted. She hardly ever does. The admission hung in the air like a thunderclap. Everyone, including my parents on the phone, fell silent. I'm hanging up now, I told my parents quietly. Brandon is taking the kids. You can call him later if you want to help, but only if you're ready to face reality about your daughter. I ended the call and looked at the scene before me, 3 confused and frightened children, a husband at the end of his rope, and my sister, whose jealousy and resentment had led her to endanger her own child. Get your things, kids, Brandon said gently. We're going to Grandma's house tonight. Taylor disappeared into the bedroom and returned with 3 backpacks. She'd apparently been prepared for this possibility, had perhaps even been hoping for it. As Brandon ushered the children toward the door, Lily broke away and ran to me, wrapping her arms around my legs. Thank you for making me better, Auntie Steffi, she whispered. I knelt down to hug her properly. I'll see you soon, okay? I promise. After they left, Amber remained standing in my living room, mascara streaking down her face. Are you happy now? She asked bitterly. No, I told her truthfully. I'm heartbroken. For your children, for Brandon, for you, for all of us. He can't take my children, she repeated, though with less conviction. He wouldn't have any proof without you interfering. Amber, this isn't about me versus you. It's about 3 kids who deserve to be safe and properly cared for. Get help. Deal with whatever is making you resent your children enough to endanger them. Be the mother they deserve. She left without another word, slamming the door behind her. Ryan, who had kept a respectful distance during most of the confrontation, came to stand beside me, slipping his arm around my waist. You did the right thing, he said softly. Then why does it feel so awful? Because doing the right thing sometimes means breaking what was already cracked, so it can be rebuilt stronger. I leaned against him, emotionally exhausted but certain that, for perhaps the first time, I'd stood up to my sister when it truly mattered. The weeks following the confrontation were chaotic. Brandon stayed true to his word, filing for legal separation and requesting temporary full custody of the children. He provided the court with evidence of Amber's negligence regarding Lily's medical care, along with documentation from the cruise line about the incident that led to their early return. Amber, predictably, launched a campaign to salvage her reputation and discredit me. She told extended family members that I had manipulated Brandon and poisoned the children against her out of jealousy. Some believed her, especially those who had only ever seen her carefully curated public persona. My parents initially tried to mediate, suggesting family therapy and reconciliation. It wasn't until they spoke directly with the children's pediatrician and reviewed the hospital records that they began to accept the severity of the situation. We should have seen it, Mom admitted during a difficult conversation at their house. There were signs all along, she was always so convincing. You believed what you wanted to believe, I replied, not unkindly. It's easier to think your daughter is just disorganized, than to accept she might be deliberately endangering her child. Despite the family drama, my work presentation went surprisingly well. I presented remotely, as my boss had arranged, and received approval for the marketing strategy I'd developed. The promotion became official, bringing both increased responsibility and salary, the latter particularly welcome after the unexpected expenses of caring for 3 children. Ryan and I began seriously discussing living together. He found a 3-bedroom apartment in a good school district, mentioning casually that the extra bedroom might come in handy if the children needed a place to stay sometimes. "Are you sure about this?" I asked him. "Taking on someone else's family drama is a lot." "I'm sure about you," he replied. "The rest we'll figure out together." Brandon's mother proved to be an unexpected ally. Beverly had always been kind but somewhat distant with me, perhaps out of loyalty to Amber. Now, she reached out regularly with updates about the children. "They ask about you," she told me during one call. "Especially Lily. She keeps that unicorn you bought her everywhere." I hadn't bought Lily a unicorn, she'd arrived with it, but I didn't correct Beverly. Later, Taylor explained that Lily had told her grandmother I gave her the toy because she was afraid Amber would take it away if she knew it came from her. The custody hearing was scheduled for early February. I agreed to testify about what I had witnessed, both during the children's stay with me and over the years. My family lawyer friend helped me prepare, warning me that Amber would likely make this as difficult as possible. "Family court isn't about punishment," she explained. "It's about what's best for the children. Focus on that, not on Amber's behavior." Extended family took sides, as families often do in these situations. Aunt Patricia and Uncle Stephen supported Amber, believing her claims of being victimized. Cousin Jessica and her husband backed Brandon and me, having witnessed concerning incidents with the children previously. Grandma Edith, at 92, cut through the drama with the clarity that sometimes comes with age. "Amber always was a jealous child," she observed when I visited her. "Never content with what she had, always wanting what others had. Your parents indulged it, thinking it would pass. Some things don't pass unless they're addressed." I found myself in the strange position of becoming Brandon's support person. We spoke almost daily, comparing notes on Amber's latest accusations and strategies for minimizing the impact on the children. What could have been an awkward in-law relationship transformed into a friendship forged in crisis. "I should have done this years ago," he confessed during one conversation. "I knew something wasn't right with how she handled Lily's allergy, but I kept telling myself she wouldn't deliberately put our daughter at risk. I was working so much, partly to avoid coming home to the chaos, that I missed what was happening right in front of me." "You're doing the right thing now," I assured him. "That's what matters." Taylor, Mason, and Lily started seeing a child psychologist who specialized in family trauma. According to Brandon, Taylor was opening up about years of witnessing her parents' dysfunctional relationship. Mason's behavioral issues were being properly assessed, and Lily was processing her medical anxiety. Amber, as part of the court requirements, began attending parenting classes and individual therapy. Whether she was genuinely engaging or merely going through the motions remained unclear. She had supervised visitation with the children twice weekly, which, according to Taylor, were tense affairs. "Mom spends half the time trying to get us to say we want to come home, and the other half crying about how everyone has turned against her," Taylor reported during a phone call. "My relationship with my parents was strained but healing. They had failed to protect their grandchildren by enabling Amber, but they were making efforts to change." Dad joined a support group for parents of adult children with behavioral health issues. Mom started therapy to address her own role in the family dynamics. "We failed both of you in different ways," Mom acknowledged during a Sunday dinner at their house. "We expected you to be the strong one, the reasonable one, from such a young age. We let Amber get away with behavior that shouldn't have been acceptable." It wasn't a complete resolution. Decades of dysfunctional patterns don't dissolve overnight, but it was a start. By mid-March, Ryan and I had moved into our new apartment. We invited Brandon and the children over for dinner to celebrate. Beverly came too, bringing a homemade cake and a housewarming gift. The evening wasn't perfect. Mason had a meltdown over seemingly nothing. Lily was clingy with me, and Taylor retreated into her phone whenever conversation lagged. But it felt like the beginning of a new, healthier family configuration. As we cleared dishes that night, Brandon pulled me aside. "Thank you," he said simply. "Not just for what you did for the kids, but for seeing what I couldn't or wouldn't see for years." "They're my family too," I replied. I should have paid closer attention sooner. The court granted Brandon temporary full custody, with Amber allowed supervised visitation and required to complete various programs before petitioning for joint custody. It wasn't what anyone would have chosen as an ideal outcome, but it prioritized the children's safety and well-being. Amber, for her part, presented a complex picture. In public and on social media, she portrayed herself as a loving mother, being unfairly separated from her children. In court and therapy, she allegedly showed moments of genuine insight about her behavior, followed by backsliding into denial and blame. "It's like she can't decide which is more important, her image or her actual relationship with her kids," Taylor observed, with the piercing clarity of a 13-year-old who had grown up too fast. By early April, we had established a new normal. The children spent weekends with Brandon at Beverly's house, where they had moved temporarily. Amber had supervised visits on Wednesday evenings and Sunday afternoons. Ryan and I often had them over for dinner or outings, building new traditions to replace the old toxic ones. Easter that year was nothing like our previous family holidays. Instead of the tense gathering at my parents' house, we had a picnic in the park. Brandon, the kids, Ryan, me, Beverly, and my parents. Amber had her supervised time earlier that day. As I watched Mason hunting for Easter eggs with Ryan, Lily helping Beverly arrange food on the picnic table, and Taylor actually smiling as she showed my father something on her phone, I realized that families can break and reform in healthier configurations. Sometimes the breaking is necessary for the healing. It wasn't the family dynamic any of us had imagined, but it was the one that was keeping 3 children safe and giving them the stability they deserved. Christmas Eve, 1 year after the cruise disaster that changed everything. Snow fell softly outside the windows of the 3-bedroom apartment Ryan and I now shared. In the living room, a 7-foot tree sparkled with lights and ornaments, many handmade by the children over the past months. "Auntie Steffi, is it time for hot chocolate yet?" Lily called from where she sat on the floor arranging cookies on a plate. At 5 years old, she had transformed from the timid, sickly child of a year ago into a confident kindergartner who proudly wore her medical alert bracelet and could recite exactly what to do if she felt an allergic reaction coming on. "Almost," I replied, finishing the whipped cream. "Mason, can you help set the table?" Mason, now 9, had been diagnosed with ADHD and was responding well to treatment. The behavioral issues that had once seemed like deliberate defiance were now understood as symptoms of a condition that he was learning to manage. He bounded into the kitchen with the energy that still characterized him, but now it was focused and purposeful. "Dad and Grandma are pulling up," Taylor announced from her position by the window. At 14, she remained the family's watchful guardian, but therapy had helped her understand she didn't need to parent her siblings anymore. She was developing interests appropriate for her age: debate club, photography, a first crush she'd shyly told me about. Brandon entered carrying gifts, followed by Beverly. Their relationship had strengthened through the challenges of the past year, healing old wounds neither had acknowledged before. "Something smells amazing," Brandon said, stomping snow from his boots. The separation had become a divorce, finalized 2 months ago. The strain that had marked his face last January had eased, replaced by the calmer countenance of someone who had made difficult but necessary choices. My parents arrived next, bearing additional presents and homemade bread. Their journey toward acknowledging and changing their enabling behaviors had been rocky but genuine. They'd eventually sold their large house and downsized to a condo, using some of the proceeds to establish college funds for their grandchildren, a tangible investment in a future they had once jeopardized through inaction. Dinner was chaotic in the best way, overlapping conversations, Mason's enthusiastic descriptions of his science project, Lily proudly showing everyone how she could read certain words now, Taylor occasionally emerging from teenage reticence to offer wry observations that made everyone laugh. Amber wasn't there. Her journey had taken unexpected turns. After initially fighting the custody arrangement, she had a breakdown that led to a diagnosis of narcissistic personality disorder. Her progress in treatment was inconsistent, but there had been meaningful improvements. She now had unsupervised visitation 1 weekend per month, with additional supervised time. "Mom said she's bringing us special presents tomorrow," Lily mentioned as we cleared the dinner dishes. The children would see Amber briefly on Christmas Day, a carefully negotiated arrangement that put their needs first. "That's nice," I replied neutrally, having learned to neither criticize nor overly praise Amber's efforts in front of the children. They were developing their own understanding of their mother, complicated, flawed, but still their mother. After dinner, we gathered in the living room for our new tradition, creating ornaments that represented something important from the past year. Mason made a soccer ball for the team he'd joined. Taylor crafted a miniature camera, having discovered photography as an outlet for her emotions. Lily created a butterfly that she said represented becoming different but still beautiful. Brandon's ornament was a simple house key. He and the children had finally moved from Beverly's into their own apartment 3 months ago. Beverly made a family tree. My parents collaborated on a bridge, symbolizing the connections they were rebuilding. Ryan's ornament was a ring, which momentarily confused everyone until he turned to me, dropped to one knee, and produced a real ring from his pocket. "Stephanie, this year showed me what kind of family we can build together, one based on love, truth, and putting each other first. Will you marry me?" Through happy tears, I said yes, accepting both the ring and the unconventional family that came with it. Later, after the children had gone to bed with strict instructions about when they could wake us for presents, Ryan and I sat quietly by the tree. "Did you ever imagine last Christmas that we'd be here now?" he asked, his arm around me. "Never," I admitted. "I thought I was just helping my sister by watching her kids. I had no idea it would change everything. For the better, though, right?" I considered the question carefully. For the children, absolutely. For Brandon, too. For my parents, probably. For Amber, I hope so, eventually. For us, definitely. The custody arrangement had stabilized. Brandon had primary physical custody, with Amber slowly earning expanded visitation rights as she demonstrated consistent improvement. The children were thriving with the combined support of their father, grandmothers, me and Ryan, and yes, even Amber in her limited but improving capacity. My promotion had led to another, and Ryan's architectural firm had made him partner. We were discussing starting a family of our own, while maintaining our important role in the lives of Taylor, Mason, and Lily. On Christmas morning, I woke to the sound of excited whispers and tiptoeing feet outside our bedroom door. Before joining the children, I took a moment to reflect on the journey of the past year, from being manipulated into babysitting to building a new kind of family structure that prioritized the children's well-being over appearances or convenience. The Christmas card photo on our mantel captured it perfectly. Brandon and the kids, Beverly, my parents, Ryan and me, and yes, even Amber in a separate corner frame, all part of an unconventional but loving family unit. Not what any of us had expected, but perhaps what the children had needed all along. If my story has taught me anything, it's that sometimes the most loving thing you can do for family is to speak difficult truths, even when it's easier to look away. Have you ever had to make a hard choice to protect someone you love? I'd be so grateful if you'd share your experiences in the comments below. And if this story of family transformation resonated with you, please hit subscribe and the notification bell so you don't miss my next video. Thank you for being part of this journey with me. And remember, family isn't just about blood. It's about who shows up when it truly matters. Like, share, and subscribe if you believe in building healthier family dynamics, one brave decision at a time.